And welcome back to JKLIVE here at Citizen Television. Thanks to my guests, Alice Wahome, MP for Kandara, and Priscilla Nyokabi, who's standing as Senator in Nyeri County. Thanks for your time. Paul Esana for the delay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, today you've really delayed us. Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies. Yeah. But it's worth it because it's campaign season.
Yes.
Right?
I was almost dozing in your waiting room because, of course, the day has been long.
It's been a long day.
Been long, yes. Yeah. I was hosting Honorable Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes.
In the entire Murang'a, 7 constituencies.
Paul Esana, but thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Priscilla, let me start with you. Your thoughts on the debates last night?
No, I was happy about the debate. Happy in the steps that the country is making. I mean, it was really international standard. So quite good to have the deputy presidents or the running mates debate. And I also loved the tiers. So you have the tier of the percentage so that we had Justina Wamai and Agano Party first round. And then the real debate with Martha Karua and Honorable Rigathi. I enjoyed it. I was at Catholic University. I went
you were live there?
Oh, yes, I was live there. And I loved that a lot of key issues came out. The fight against corruption in a big way, the cost of living, and that we were able to see between the two candidates just sort of who has longer experience in terms of managing public affairs. And for us women, and I'm happy Alice and I know each other a long time, I think that women are now on this stage is also something to celebrate. Yeah. Sophia Wanuna on the presenter side, but also the 3 women now, only 1 man. So we've come a long way. We've come a long way. We are a doorstep away from presidency. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Mahesh, your thoughts on the debates?
Jeff, let me thank the people of Murang'a for a very great appearance today. They attended our rallies. We had 7 rallies. I think it's important because actually the rally at Kagodoine in my constituency, they asked me to say hi to you.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
They knew the Kagodoine location, shopping center, because that was where we had the Kandara rally. And then from there we went to Maragua. So I want to thank them very much for showing great support, especially. They were really looking forward for Rigathi Gachagua because they felt that he staged a starring performance. You know, there has been this narrative that he's a dimwit or he cannot match the deputy running mate of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. I can tell you, he scored. He's the one who went home with the reward. And I went through the media analysis or quick polls that were ran by the Star online by Kameme. Kameme scored Gachagua at 91%. NTV also did a score. Standard Digital. I went through all today. I was like, Allah, you mean he scored 70 plus on average, and Martha was scoring very poorly, 15 to 25. So obviously they are on different issues. Honorable Gachagua was talking about economic revival. He was talking to the real issues, the fact that the living costs have gone very high. We can hardly afford, Kenyans can hardly afford ugari meal, or the unga packet is 2 kg is 240, Jeff. I know you may not know that because, you know, many of the privileged, they go to supermarket and they run a combined bill. Yes. And it's really very hard because when you also consider that a liter of cooking oil, liquid cooking oil, is costing 400 shillings, more than double a liter of petrol. Then salt has also gone up. Or soap has gone up. Rice is double the price. A kilo is going for 170. It's really must be very difficult for Azimio to sell their candidate because you see the handshake is taking the baggage. Yeah. And the debate, of course, brought up some issues. And the Gachagua was on spot because he was discussing the issues, the economic model, the Kenya Kwanza issues, and this is the platform we have campaigned upon. And I think we are selling that because obviously we are selling very well because Kenyans at this particular time want these elections will be determined on whose policy will revive the economy. Martha Karua was on the issues of corruption, yes, and I think I'm sure from where she is, looking at the analysis, she must be regretting debating Gachagua. And so,
by the way, that 2 kilogram unga that you're talking about has gone down to 100 shillings from tomorrow. From tomorrow.
Yeah, not yet. Of course, it's a campaign strategy. It's very poor, and Kenyans are very upset by that. But we have been calling that. We know they were trying to make money for the campaign.
Okay, Priscilla,
well, I think it's a good thing that Unga has come down. You know, at whatever point Unga comes down, I think that is to be celebrated. Yeah. So I celebrate that it's come down. But what I want to point out is the debate, the weaknesses of the debate yesterday. One, we saw the Mwakenya approach. You know, somebody pull out a script, you know, and say, okay, I need to refer to some notes here. I don't think that that is allowed. I think that that shouldn't be allowed in the next debate. I think that every debater should come in ready to tackle the issues without reference material and without referring to more Kenyans. I think the other thing that was very weak of the debate by Honorable Gachagua is bringing into the ring somebody who's not on the ring. He kept referring to Uhuru Kenyatta. And just, I was in the morning Kimuri, where we were discussing, again, the debate yesterday, but in Kikuyu now. And it actually transpired that he mentioned Uhuru 75 times in the debate yesterday. And that is really weak in the sense that Uhuru is not a candidate in this election. And if in a boxing ring, which is what you have with the debate, you shouldn't pull up a candidate who's not on the ring. You should debate the person on the ring. So that essentially, Honorable Gachagua was not debating Martha, was actually debating Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And that's not right. I'm even hoping that in the next debate that we have some rules about third parties, some rules about libel and defamation, some rules about just throwing names. I think that those rules, and I think that that should be called to order so that then you have a debate on the real issues. And corruption is a real issue. I know that the Kenya Kwanza does not want to admit that corruption is a real issue in our country. That has to be dealt with for the services then to be, you know, sort of given to all the Kenyans. Yeah. But the Mwakenya, the reference to third parties, the families, which are, and you know, even in the boxing ring, it is Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto who are vying. Families are not vying. Families are not involved in corruption. Individuals are involved in corruption. And the rule of law would then mean that you take the individuals through the corruption justice system. So I think that we felt that Martha did well because she was baited many times to get into those fights, and she refused to take that bait. So according to the Azimio side, Martha did well. For me as a woman, Martha did extremely well to keep composure until the end.
Yeah. Okay.
You see, Priscilla is referring to Mwakenya. I don't know what she means by Mwakenya.
No,
Honorable Gachagua referred to a Kenya Gazette. Is actually a public paper, government gazette notice that allowed NIC and the rest to benefit from tax, 350 million shillings. And that was also pushed, before it was gazetted, pushed to Parliament. And you should be embarrassed in your cabinet to raise that issue now or to appear to defend that, because accountability requires accountability requires that if especially you are the, related to the companies, we know who's the owner of those companies that were given the benefit of waiver. And you know, there are Kenyans who have been harassed, they can't sleep, they are in court, they have gotten sick. Kiroshe, for example. Many Kenyans have been taken to court, and many letters are floating all over. Majority of members of parliament, especially who support William Ruto, not those others, have been given funny letters calling for an existing tax requests or demands.
Has that happened to you?
So actually, yes, it has. I do have some, and I can tell you, I think we should be answering to the issue. Was it right to do what was done in that particular gazette notice? It wasn't. Actually, I think we should recover it. The country should recover. Yeah, because you cannot benefit. And this is what Gachagua was referring to when he was explaining what we mean by state capture. And there are many other instances. Maybe the skeletons will start coming out. And of course, families, if they are your families, they are your relatives, there's nothing you can do. The fact is, they are your relatives.
Priscilla, what do you say?
Yeah, I think that, you know, this Gazette notice was by Treasury, the cabinet minister in charge of Treasury. And that is the person you should put to task on that Gazette notice. And I agree. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about a debate. So I'm not embarrassed about anything myself.
Okay, the facts of that
sure.
issue,
So
not
nothing
you
to be
personally.
embarrassed, I know. So now, you have a Gazette notice that was issued that you want to question. And there are procedures in Parliament. Honorable Gachagua is a parliamentarian. There are committees in Parliament where that can be questioned. That is not subject of the debate because Martha Karua is not a party to that Gazette notice. He's not a party to the matters that are covered therein. There should be forums where those kind of questions and accountability questions can be asked. But when you come on to a debate, don't load it because now this debate ended up loaded with innuendos, with insinuations, with things that can't be proved, and by people who are not on the platform that night, people who are not on the dais that night.
Wes, let me
Of
ask you
course,
this.
Gachagua was responding to issues of integrity and corruption that were put to him. And of course, if you are going to benefit by reason of your position, Jeff, you influence government action, the minister's action, then you must take it, you must accept that the question of integrity that you are trying to run with doesn't exist. In fact, we are still waiting for the Pandora papers to be answered or to be put to the country, you know.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Mheshimiwa. There's some youth who felt a little disenfranchised and unrepresented because issues such as unemployment, health, education were not addressed.
During the debate?
Yes.
It depends on how the debate was structured. Actually, you know, initially we were not very comfortable coming for the debates because some of the media houses have taken very positions that they shouldn't be taking. You are aware, Jeff, and you know, there is control and regulation of how the media should balance out. You know, equity in terms of the space, the airtime, the coverage. You know, without really flinching, I can say, for example, the media house where we are has been taking a position that could be very unequal in terms of space allocation of time, full, you know, like an hour or, I don't know. I think there is a question of, even as the media says, that because sometimes ownership or owners of the media houses, not just loyal media, they also are entitled to their own political affiliations. But they must remember that that they are using public space, they are using licenses that are the property of the public, and therefore to appear to support one person or some people, some coalitions against the others and not balance out, I think it's quite unethical, unprofessional.
But okay, you keep saying that we are biased, right?
Not me. I think our coalition has raised the issue. In fact, we have engaged Waruru sometimes back.
You're here now?
Maybe to balance out the question, but I'm happy for the time, Jeff.
Absolutely.
And thank you for calling.
Well, we're happy that you're here.
And thank you for calling.
By the way, why did Kenya Kwanza change its mind? Because over the weekend they said they won't attend the debates. Why did they change their mind?
I believe Gachagua had not said personally that he will not attend.
Yeah, but your chief media spokesperson has said.
Yeah, you know, remember, Jeff, I can remind you that we actually went on a slow against the loyal media. And Gachagua kept on coming. I think he has his own personal relationships. And maybe because also in Kenya Kwanza, we allow democracy. You can make your own choices in terms of when to appear. But that, you remember the debate, the interview by the deputy president sometimes back, he clearly said that, and even when he was receiving his nomination certificate, he put it to the media, entire media, and he said, you must be fair. And he said, look, if a debate has already selected a side, if a media house or the owners or the persons structuring the debate have already taken a side, then are you calling me or inviting me so that I can fit in so that you can have that debate? I think that is the question he answered. And I think whether he will attend or not, that can only be answered by him. You know, there are also, even if there are coalition decisions that can be made there, I think, and eventually the person of the deputy president must be able to answer that question.
Priscilla, in your thoughts, do you think the debate made an impact on the general election itself?
I think that the thing with these debates is really not so much on the votes. It's actually so much on the issues. And so I share in the concern that issues like health and water and youth and unemployment may not have come out as strongly as we would have wanted. But the thing with these debates is to sort of assure the country on the credibility, on the integrity, on the level of maturity of our democracy, and also of the leaders seeking office. But going forward, I think that seeking the votes would still be based on the policies that each side is going to sort of bring up. So even in international standards, it is not always that the debate sways the voters. It is that the debate allows a chance to see exactly who we are voting, and then now you can make up your mind based on what you see and how the candidates engage. The only thing I liked about the media is also that there was cooperation between the media houses and the media council, and so the entire Kenyan media was actually together in this process. Yeah. But we are hoping that going forward, these debates then help to put real issues on the table. I think that's the main basis of the debate. Yeah. On this strategy of saying I will not attend, I will attend, I will not attend, that's a strategy. It has its own benefits. Because what Regade did by saying he will not attend is to lower the expectations on his side. Then people expect you to underperform. Then you show up. It's a bit like that Sakaja strategy. You say then you come in late, and then so it's a strategy tu. Ni kujaribu kujipanga. Watu wote watakuja debate.
You know, actually, they regretted the fact that after the debate, there was a lot of time waste on this, just there without entering into the real issues. Because I think there was a preview. They had agreed on what areas, what issues to be covered. Right. And I think the hosts were kind of a bit slow into getting into the real issues. Some of the issues you are saying may not have been tackled. I don't think that can be blamed on Gachagua and Karua as such. I think there was a tendency for the hosts to go round maybe one issue for too long, trying to possibly think that they will fix Gachagua. I think they need to understand that Gachagua is actually an administrator, and he's very able to deal with most of these issues. He's good. The man is good. Yeah. Yeah. I was also a running mate of, I almost got it. So I was there, and I do commend the ability to address issues and to tackle a debate eloquently, and those people who had expected that he will underperform, that he was the underdog, are actually maybe leaking their woods. Yeah.
The organization, the management of the whole debate, your thoughts on that?
That's why I'm saying, I think if we want Kenyans to benefit from these debates, the questions must be put. I think it's always important to kind of say, this is the area we want to cover. The answers, of course, will come from the persons appearing. But I think the media must progress and agree on what time. Stop bias, stop prejudices, and forget about the old narratives. We are now here, we are going to the vote. Those narratives have not worked. They will not work. They will not put Kenya Kwanza down. Actually, we are winning this thing first round. Anyway, the structuring of the debate must address issues, not personalities. I agree on that, but must dwell deep into the issues so that, and there is really no sacred cow. If it is you who has been involved in these things, let us know. If it's your family, Jeff, accountability, because Karua was talking about accountability and integrity. She went on that. And I think that is why Gachagua went also into the same issue and said, some of these things that have been floated all over on the Kenya Kwanza people, politicians, are issues that did not exist and don't exist. And he addressed his own case. I don't want to be the one debating because the debate is already over. Yeah. Possibly we are trying to do a poor job of trying to analyze. I think we should go to the next debate.
Yeah. But Priscilla, before we do that, why does Kenya Kwanza think there's bias against them? Why do you think that is?
No, I think that maybe they're just afraid about some of the media positions. And some of the Kenya Kwanza leaders are also not able to debate properly, level of experience, level of maturity. Because what we've seen with the Kenyan media is actually space for both sides. So I don't think any one of us should cry that there is any more attention given on any of the sides. I think that there is sufficient space and scope for any of the sides to sell their agenda. And I think we should just get down to it, just sell our agenda. Yesterday, Regathe was doing well to call on us to move to issues. But it was very interesting. He calls on us to move to issues, but then brings in third parties, brings in fights, brings in history, and he's the one calling for issues. So he was doing actually both of them at the same time. You say, let's move to issues, and then you don't allow us to move to issues because you go back on some of the things that you're raising. So I think that going forward, there can be better ways of doing the debate. But for the season of politics that we are in, I think that we can't complain. Either no side can complain. There was fair play, there was balance. Everybody had 2 minutes to sell their agenda. I think that we should just use that time.
Priscilla, we have written official letters, including to the Media Council, and we have addressed the areas. We have pointed out the areas of bias, and they are clear on paper and pen. And we have said in terms of allocation of time. By the way,
what do you mean by bias?
I mean, just if Jeff, we come here and then she ends up with maybe 40 minutes of our 1 hour, that's already a bias. And of course, you know, in that letter, we also indicated that including ranking in terms of where the deputy president, he will be brought at, I think, around the 15th minute of the news time, when the Right Honourable Raila Odinga is brought at the first 3-4 minutes, and then you will take a whole 10 minutes. And then you end up with William Ruto's coverage, big rallies, issues that he has been addressed. He's allocated in the news time. His coverage is like, the most he gets is about 1 minutes, you know, maybe a minute and...
I disagree with that over here, but, you know...
Oh, no. We have put it on paper, and you can actually... Jeff, maybe you haven't taken time to analyze.
I read the news myself.
The only thing I like with what Alice is saying is that she agrees media houses can pick a side.
Yeah, you know. I mean, I'm talking about things that can be proved. Yeah.
Let me say this. You know, there is the right side of history and the wrong side of history. And you have to allow the media to be on the right side of history. Our country has a choice to make, a very tough choice to make in terms of whether we make progress with our democracy and our development. So when the media houses like yourselves choose the right side of history, you can't complain, Alice. It is the right side of history. Where the country is at now, even for the people of Mount Kenya, where we need to put our trust, where we need to put our issues, where we need to put the fight against corruption, where we need to put our development, you can't accuse anyone of supporting that side. It is really... So Mother Karua is a leader of 30 years standing. Mother Karua has stood for the right things in this country. So has Baba. I don't know what you would say about day and night. When the day then gets the time of day, surely you can't complain. And I really feel that we are not even doing enough. In fact, if it were up to me, I would even give more time so that those issues are even covered until people understand what is at stake in this election. In my own county of Nyeri, we have to understand what is at stake in this election. If you vote for corruption, you will never have water, you will never have health, you will never have roads, you will never have agriculture. Subsidies like fertilizer will come at 2,900, but it won't get to you because it is taken over by cartels in the middle here. We must discuss those issues. Day and night, we must discuss.
Actually, Priscilla, we should discuss those issues. We are not having any health. Actually, the health situation in the country right now
is terrible.
Since 2018, the handshake came in. Those are 5 years. She should be telling us, why has it failed? Is it William, or is it the people managing, the people who are in the government? And that is obviously Uhuru Kenyatta and the Right Honourable. And she's been actually the driver of BBI. Quite a situation that she ought not to have been, because Priscilla Nyokabi, before she resigned to go and run for Nyeri Senate seat, was serving as a commissioner in Gender and Equality Commission, an institution, an organization that should not take political sides, because when things get thick, when things get thick, they are the ones supposed to come in between and to balance the equations. So you hear she's actually agreeing that there is a right side and a wrong side.
Yes.
So she thinks because they now are running the government, they are on the right side. The government belongs to everybody. Jeff, every Kenyan in this country should be treated equally before the law. The government must serve everybody equally, without discrimination, without politicizing, without criminalizing people because they have a certain political affiliation. This regime, and I said in 2019 December, that we are going back to the dark days. This, my dear sister here, we gave her a job and she did badly. I hope she can correct her mistakes for another day because obviously Nyeri seat is not available.
Yeah. No. Luckily, Alice is not a voter in Nyeri, so that's a good thing. So I have my story with the people of Nyeri who need a good senator, and I will give the services of good senate. And part of the reason is actually the BBI. Nyeri is one of the counties.
You would be a good senator.
I will be a good senator.
But unfortunately,
no, luckily you don't have my vote, so let me deal with the people with the votes. I know.
I should say you're biased.
I know. But anyway, let me speak about the BBI. Counties like Nyeri, including actually Muranga, we are under-resourced, and you know that, because of the formula that is being used to share money for counties. So that formula disadvantages the counties that we come from, including Nyeri, including Muranga, including Kiambu. And so BBI was a way of resetting that mode of sharing money. Because if we continue the way we are, Nyeri gets 5.4 billion. 3 billion goes to recurrent expenditure. We are left with 2 billion for all of the county functions, including, in fact, part of the reason why we can't have healthcare is also because we don't have resources for healthcare. So 2 billion Kenya shillings is not enough. We have to reset that agenda. And part of resetting that agenda required the relook that the BBI was offering our counties. And that BBI is still something that needs to be done if counties like Nyeri and Muranga and Kiambu are to get their rightful share. The per capita now in Kiambu, the per capita available for services for one person is about 4,000 shillings. In some counties, it is 20,000 shillings. So there is an unfairness around that. You can't have one county 20,000 shillings available for an individual, and in Kiambu, Nairobi here 4,000. In Nyeri is about 5,000, 6,000. So that has to be reset. And that's why I want to be a senator. And that is why the BBI was important. But for me as a commissioner of gender, BBI was important for another reason that we both share. The 2/3 gender rule, which has not been implemented. That 2/3 gender rule was actually part of the proposals for constitutional review that were contained therein. So as a commissioner of gender, then I had a view there. As a commissioner of gender in charge of youth affairs, you do know that the BBI was going to create a commission for youth affairs. So it is not all, it just depends on which side of the bread you're looking at. You know, Alice is just unhappy that she and I are not on the same side of politics. You know, but on the issues,
I'm quite happy.
On some of the
on
issues,
the contrary, I'm quite happy with
the reason you're accusing me is because we are not on the same side.
Yeah.
Otherwise, on some of the issues, and which is what I'm also hoping going forward, we're going to be able to close ranks. I am hoping that, for example, in Mount Kenya, where we both come, where actually the three of us come from, that after this election, we really should be able to close ranks on issues that matter to Mount Kenya. Extra constituencies mattered to us. Extra constituencies still matter to us. We must have the one man, one vote, one shilling. It shouldn't matter whether you're in Kenya Kwanza or in Azimio. If these are issues important to Mount Kenya, Kiharu is getting an extra constituencies, surely we should be able to close ranks and get the extra constituency. We should be able to close ranks and get the 4 billion extra for Nyeri, 4 billion extra for Muranga. You know, in fact, Kiambu was like 9-10 billion extra. I think that these politics shouldn't make us so, you know, myopic that we can't even see the things that matter to the people that we represent.
Myopic, yes. You know, when Priscilla talks about the wrong side and the right side, you know, she should actually take back those kind of descriptions, because it means there are people in Kenya who are on the wrong side. She needs to elaborate and say how did she end up on the right side, and then I ended up on the wrong side, and especially that she knows that we actually campaigned for Jubilee. All of us, we were in Jubilee. It is deliberate. And indeed, there are people who think they will be able to succeed themselves on 9th of August. And she belongs to that kind of
Nobody's
thinking.
succeeding herself on 9th of August.
The BBI was a disaster. It has distracted the country. And I have said it on this particular platform. And Jeff, last time you had promised, when BBI fails or passes, you will call us, myself and Rosa Buyu. You didn't. But the point is, BBI was lost. It failed. It took a lot of energy. It brought a lot of division because the manner in which it was prosecuted was illegal, was demeaning, was deceit. And you know, you cannot imagine that you can actually change a document that the whole country worked on for about 20 years, so that then you narrow down issues to benefit a few people there by an additions of some seats. That is one of the reasons that it failed. There was disregard of the Constitution and the law. The processes did not matter. What mattered at that time is executive authority. And you know, that is one of the major issues that the courts, you know, up the Supreme Court found issues with it. Because when you do not want to factor in that you have a constitution currently and that there is a process even within that constitution so that you operate within the constitution, then you lose. Even the next time, if that would be the style, whether it is me or her, the BBI would be lost. Indeed, Kenyans are not interested in constitutional change. And unfortunately, that's the first job Priscilla and Martha Karua have been assigned, because Honorable Martha Karua, mistakenly so, and I don't understand how that kind of idea is coming into her mind, that she would be a minister for justice, even assuming they win. You cannot be a deputy president because that is a constitutional office. Within Article 147, then you cannot hold another constitutional office. You cannot have two constitutional offices. So I think she would have to choose to be a running mate or to be a minister. And therefore, when you then want to imagine that you can push this thing, the position this country is in, everybody matters, even the smallest. We are not interested in a constitutional change. We are interested in raising back our economy, because where we are working on a 10 trillion deficit right now. Yes, and we had to allow Parliament, Parliament had to allow the minister to exceed the limits we had set earlier on. This government unashamedly used monies illegally again without permission of Parliament. And we had to quickly agree to extend the limits because the limits had been set earlier on. And therefore, because the budget couldn't be done without knowing where we would get the money to cover the deficit, right. Jeff. Yeah, so we don't have any money. The money she's talking about, that by county and the other county, we need to create more money. People don't need to be given social stipends if they need money in their pocket from their own businesses.
You're shaking your head there.
Yeah, sure. Actually, the only point I agree on is the fiscal space. We do need to create more fiscal space, so we need to widen the tax base and we need to have more resources. But I think that we need to send more resources to counties. That I strongly believe in, and I like that Azimio is promising to send 35% of resources to counties. And even this 35% is actually the 100% that we already have. The people who are even promising to increase debt, as Rigathi did last night, is actually Kenya Kwanza. He promised yesterday that a 500 billion bond would be opened, again increasing debt. What we actually need to do is restructure the financing that we already have to priority spending and to make sure that a lot of that priority spending is actually in counties so that then the functions can be done. The only thing about the BBI is that the courts did not find fault with the content at all. What the courts found fault with is the process. So I think that if the process is well done, you cannot run away from the content that we all need to deal with. So that will come at its own time. On this matter of the Minister of Justice, there is no illegality, there is no unconstitutionality around it, because the president, when the election is done, actually what Baba has done is to show intention, that I intend to do this. And that intention is not illegal because the president can assign duties to any of the ministers and the deputy president as well. Actually, in terms of best practices from what we have seen with this regime, it is much better that a deputy president has a docket. I think it is not right for a deputy president to be docketless. If they are docketless, then we have the sort of situation that we have now. I think it is important that a deputy president, and that was also the conversation for deputy governors. Remember, the situation of deputy president is also the situation of deputy governors down in the counties. So it is important that a deputy governor or a deputy president also has a docket, so then they are accountable for certain deliverables within that system, within that regime.
Okay, ladies, let me take a break and come back, and we'll talk about polls. Most of the polls I've been reading, there are something like 10% undecided. How can you be undecided with 19 days to go? Are those the people?
Even on the morning of the vote, people decide when they are in the queue. A certain percentage.
Alice Wahome, Priscilla Nyokabi. Okay.
It's not a very good situation, but they will decide.
Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. Plenty more ahead. We'll be back in a moment.